Everyone, wanted to bring you a sermon sidecar to go with this past week's message on Exodus 33:18 to 34:9. We were looking at the name of God, Yahweh. He says to Moses, I will declare my name to you. I am Yahweh, and then I am abounding in steadfast love. I am gracious, I am merciful, I am patient, I'm slow to anger, all these beautiful, wonderful, incredible things. One of the uses of those descriptions of the Lord appears in Jonah. And I didn't include it in the sermon because tonally, this section of Jonah is very, very different from what we were looking at Sunday. We wanted Sunday to just truly be a beautiful celebration and enjoyment of who we get to know God as. And in Jonah 4:2, actually I'll start with verse 1. So what's happened leading up to chapter 4 of Jonah? God has relented. God has turned back the disaster that was going to come on Nineveh because Nineveh repented, because they responded appropriately to God's warning. God relents of his disaster. And it says, verse 1, it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was angry. And he prayed to the Lord and said, O Lord, is not this what I said when I was yet in my country? That is why I made haste to flee to Tarshish, for I knew that you are a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love and relenting from disaster. Jonah is criticizing God for the very things that we should be rejoicing over. And so I think we have to ask ourselves, yeah, it's great to celebrate these things as believers, but I really want us to consider our perspective towards lost people, towards the blind, lost world that doesn't know Jesus as Lord. Are we more inclined to want them? I mean, truly want, like truly desire, not say we want, not, well, I know what I should say as a believer. I know what I should act like as a believer. I'm talking about really, like when you look in the mirror, do you really want the lost world to know Christ, to know the God who is Yahweh, who is gracious and merciful? Or do we allow Jonah to appear in our hearts more than we'd care to admit this is why I'm annoyed, God, because that person is going to get the rewards and I don't like them and I don't want them. I think Jonah offers us a very stark contrast of the character of the Lord with the character of broken humanity, right? Jonah should be rejoicing that Nineveh has been spared, and instead he's complaining that these people who I don't like, these people who I don't think are worthy, these people who I don't think are deserving, now they get to experience your graciousness and your goodness and your mercy. What a problem. And he goes on and he says, therefore now, O Lord. So therefore, in light of this, in light of the fact that you didn't punish my enemies the way I want you to, therefore now, O Lord, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. That's messed up. And the problem is when we see it in the church today. The problem is when we see the church approach, whether it's a people group, whether it's another religion, whether it's a political party, whoever it is, whether it's a group of believers, like atheists, right? The antagonistic atheists, whoever it is, celebrities, athletes, whatever. We have to guard against that attitude that Jonah has of, I can't stand them. And now I'm really ticked that they're getting to experience the same God who I know. We cannot be greedy when it comes to the Lord. He's not for me and me alone, right? And so, like I said, tonally way different than the rest of the sermon, which is why we didn't include it in the message. But you can't ignore the fact, I can't gloss over the fact that this list of descriptions of who God is that we see in Exodus, that we saw throughout Scripture, also appears here in Jonah, where Jonah acknowledges who God is, and then he pretty unabashedly maintains a heart posture directly contrary to it. And so I want us to also check ourselves and make sure that what we desire for people is what the Lord desires for people, that people would know him as Yahweh, and that we wouldn't want to be holding him back just for ourselves and our friends. All right, hope this challenges us, pushes us. We must be going after the mission of Christ. We'll see you next time.